Hi, and welcome back to the Save It for Parts channel. We're here yet again with the 1962 Dorsett Catalina jet boat, and as usual with an old boat, we just have endless projects and endless repairs to do. In the last video, I had to cut a little short after dealing with some water issues and installing another bilge pump. In this video, I've got some more engine repairs to do, some other mechanical stuff, and we're going to see how much we can get through and hopefully move towards getting this boat out on the water again. I've been looking around the boat a little more closely, and I'm noticing a few things, like the alternator has two grooves here. Whoever installed it put the belt in the outer groove, which means the whole thing is kind of out at an angle from the engine, when they should have used the inner groove. So I'll just go ahead and swap that. So here's the starter that was having some trouble earlier, and I actually noticed it's not really connected to the engine. So much like the alternator, the prior owner said that he built this engine, and it turns out that by built he means he kind of piled up the parts and hoped they'd stick together. He didn't actually attach anything to anything else. Okay, I've taken the starter off. For a moment there, I thought one of these bolts was broken, but no, they just never got torqued down properly. So there is a name on it. It's a Delco Remy. I know AC Delco used to be a name brand. I don't know who Remy is, if they're any good or not, but they were nice enough to put this on the side that you can't see without removing the starter. So now I can look this up and hopefully get something a little better. Can't tell if there's any damage to the starter teeth. They actually look okay. So I might be able to put this back on for now and keep using it. The teeth on the actual engine flywheel don't look fantastic, and that's because the starter's just been sitting there spinning loosely and grinding them. So I don't know if I'll have to replace that at some point, but hopefully it's got a little bit of life left in it, because that looks like a major operation to get that thing replaced. So actually trying to find a replacement starter for this thing is kind of like a needle in a haystack, because the manufacturer, Delco Remy, doesn't admit to ever having a part number like that, or anything interchangeable with that part number. And the auto parts stores will happily sell you something with no brand on it. Amazon will happily sell you something that is apparently compatible with every model number ever made and is manufactured by a definitely legitimate sounding company. Now, about the only place you can find the exact make and model of this starter is on eBay, and yeah, they did exist back in the 60s. Unfortunately, most of the ones for sale on eBay have been buried in a hole in the ground since the 1960s and kind of look like you'd expect. So I'm really not quite sure what to buy for a replacement starter on this thing. Now that I've tightened up that existing starter, maybe I'll just keep using it until it actually dies completely. Alright, next on the list, I need to tighten up this packing gland, so hopefully it doesn't leak as much. Actually, it kind of looks like there's just no packing in there at all, so maybe I'll pull this out, buy some new packing material, and then redo that. Alright, another maintenance project that I should have done earlier was to check or replace the bowl oil on the jet. So you just pop these two little screws out, stick the lower unit oil in there, and it should be good to go. Alright, so that's really low. I used up the rest of this bottle. I have to go get another bottle. So I definitely should have checked on that sooner, but I didn't realize that these were oil fill holes until I read through the Berkeley manual. So the manual says to use 90 weight gear oil, which is kind of one of those obsolete petroleum products that doesn't really exist anymore. I'm using 75 weight 90. From what I can tell, the 75 is the viscosity in the winter, the 90 is what it is in the summer. I'm only going to use this boat in the summer, so this should be good enough. Alright, I thought that was taking quite a bit of oil, and sure enough, here's the oil leaking out the bottom of the boat. So that little oil reservoir inside the jet bowl is leaking somewhere. Alright, I'm kind of all over the place with this video. I got a lot of projects going. I'm finding a lot of new problems to add to the to-do list. Right now I'm charging up the battery so I can try the starter one more time, do some other stuff. In the meantime, we're going to try to improve our storage situation. I have a tarp over this, but it sags, it collects water, so I'm going to try to make some hoops to hold the tarp better. Fortunately, we have a bunch of stuff hoarded, including all these old PVC hoops from a greenhouse project, so some of these might work with a little modification. So the idea is to make something a bit like this to go in behind the seats, another one to go in behind the air cleaner on the engine, and then maybe a structure to hold the two together and keep the tarp rigid. I also have a whole ton of these PVC connectors, and I got these at like a pallet load at an auction. They're way more than I actually need. I've just got boxes and boxes of them. Really enjoy making stuff out of PVC pipe. With all these fittings and pipes and bits, it's kind of like big kid tinker toys. This is the original 1962 canvas cover that came with the boat. It's not really very waterproof. It's pretty mildewed and ugly, very patched. I'm just going to throw it on there as kind of a base for the modern tarp, partly just to protect the new tarp from any abrasion. Tarps only ever last about 6 months, no matter how much you pay for them, no matter how fancy they are. I did pay for a really nice tarp, and I've used it for about 5 minutes. It's already ripped up and kind of beat, so we're going to put this down as that extra layer first, and then the tarp. If we can figure out how to get this on there and stay on there. Alright, after failing all day, I finally got the engine started, somehow. I don't know what I did. But now that it's starting, I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to flush out the coolant from all the sand that we sucked up last time. And I'm going to use this little guy to try and verify the RPMs and compare against the gauge on the dash. So this is a little tachometer gun. Uses a laser to measure the RPM of something. I think I'm going to need to stick this little reflective strip on the engine, and it'll just measure every time that goes around. 2000 is 170. Alright, on my handy dandy paper towel notebook, I've noted down what the gauge reads versus what the little gun reads, and it looks like the gauge is about double what the engine is actually doing for RPM. So when we were getting concerned about pegging the RPM gauge at 6,000, it was probably really only going 3,000, and we could open the throttle a lot more. I tried digging into the rear side of the 1970s tachometer and adjusting it, but it just made things worse. The adjustments kind of went all over the place. Every time I turned the little set screw, it would either peg at 6,000 or jump back down to 0, and it's just really inconsistent where that goes. So I think we're going to rip that particular gauge out and get a modern one to replace it with. Alright, that's probably about it for this video. I was hoping to get it out on the water again and end the video with driving around testing it, but I've got so much footage, I've got so many projects that I'm going to have to save that for the next video. And there's a lot of stuff I need to order. I need to order a new tachometer, I need to order a seal for that jet bowl, maybe a new starter, etc., etc. So it's going to be a while till we actually get this out in the water. So stay tuned for that one. I think in the next video we actually will have it out in the water, because once those parts come in I can actually fix some of that stuff and we can get out and drive around some more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.